I look at this debate and this motion today in the context of some dreadful forecasts and some dreadful assessments which have driven government's nervousness. And I want to explore them and put them on the record because I believe it is in the public interest, but I'm doing so within this motion. And I want to look at one or two in particular, Imperial and Professor Ferguson, who I have a great deal of respect for, and I will be careful how I phrase this. But I am concerned that some of the forecasting we've had has had a track record in, frankly, getting it wrong repeatedly. Professor Ferguson, in 2001, he predicted 150,000 human deaths from foot and mouth. Under 200 died. In 2002, between 50 and 50,000 deaths from BSE. In the end, 177 died. In 2005, 150 million people could be killed from bird flu. 282 died. In 2009, government estimate, based on his advice, a reasonable worst-case scenario for swine flu would lead to 65,000 British deaths. In the end, 457 people died. I'm happy to be corrected on any of those points, but that is the publicly available information. Coming forward to COVID, he predicted 85,000 deaths in Sweden, which round the Swedes up. In fact, 6,000 Swedes had died at the time. Angus Tegnell, Sweden's chief epidemiologist, said in September 2020, we looked at the Imperial model and we could see that the variables that were put were quite extreme. Why did you choose the variables that gave extreme results? I love experts, don't get me wrong, Mr Deputy Speaker. I know we sometimes have our issues with them, but it is helpful if they are right, if only very occasionally. Johan Gisek, Sweden's former chief epidemiologist, said that Ferguson's models were, quotes, not very good. The Washington Post quoted Gisek as saying that Imperial's forecasts were, quotes, almost hysterical. And this is the forecasting that has been part driving government action. Oncology professor Angus Dalgleish in this country described Ferguson's modelling as lurid predictions. He said that Ferguson and his colleagues were getting it, quotes, spectacularly wrong. And I quote Dalgleish, unfortunately, we have a SAGE committee advising a government that is devoid of any scientific expertise on speculative concepts such as the R number, which we now all know is a reproductive rate, etc., and the need for everyone to stay indoors, even though the evidence strongly suggests that people are less likely to catch COVID-19 outside. So some of the scientific evidence may have actually driven the rise in COVID rates in the same way that going into hospital may have actually been the place that you caught COVID and died from it. Viscount Ridley has criticised Ferguson's modelling. Lund University has applied Ferguson's models and found a massive difference between his predictions and what actually happened. Professor Michael Thursfield from Edinburgh said of Ferguson's previous modelling of foot and mouth that it was, quotes, severely flawed. I give way.
Thank him for giving way, and he's absolutely right in highlighting the predictions which are wrong. But the unfortunate thing is that politicians then jump onto those and quote them. And the Health Minister in Northern Ireland, for example, on the basis of Mr Ferguson's predictions, talked about deaths of biblical proportions. And